You hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Inkdependence. I'm Mike, and this is the Caran 849 fountain pen, and this is a pen that I've been asked to review a couple of times over the course of my live streams and such like that, and I keep forgetting and putting it off, and so today, paying that off. So this is the Caran 849 fountain pen, and it is different from pretty much everything else out there on the market. I don't really know of anything that looks like this exactly. There is also the 849 ballpoint pen, which I've had for even longer than the fountain pen. I've had this for a few years, but I've had this for several years, and they've been around for quite a while. I really like this ballpoint pen. It's pretty comfortable to use, even though it's very short. Not one I would use forever, but pretty good for carrying on a pocket, making a lot of notes, and you'll see a lot of similar design language in these two things. So let's take a look at this fountain pen. On the top, you have the Caran. I think they call this an ideograph or some weird thing. I don't know. That's not a word I see very often, but it's sort of etched into the cap. It's a very nice little symbol. Then you have this clip that has this very distinctive clip action here with the sort of wings. I really like that, and I like how it's holding on to this six-sided body right here. Then you have the clip that goes out and around. It is a fairly simple clip, but nonetheless very effective at holding this onto shirt pockets or whatever. I wouldn't really put this in the placket of a shirt because it is a slip cap, snap cap situation, and so it could come off, although it's held on there fairly well, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Underneath the clip is where they've actually put the branding and the name and everything. I like that Caran does this because it's very subtle. I mean, you look at this pen, you're like, all right, it doesn't have any words on it at all, except for right there under the cap. That's it, Caran 849. Does it say anything else? Up here it says Swiss made in very small letters. So that's kind of it as far as branding on the pen. Continuing down the pen, you have this nice smooth barrel. It actually does feel very nice. I like the feel and look of this pen. And then you find on the bottom here a just shiny finial, and you'll see there is a gap between the body of the pen and the finial, and that's because this snap cap has this sort of recess, this little silver ring, and that's I'm not really sure exactly why they did that. I think it's got to be part of the capping mechanism, but I don't really know. And then you can, when you post it, similarly it goes on here, but there's no doesn't click in or anything. It does stay, it's not going to come off, but it also makes this pen extremely long. When I measured this, it was it was almost 7 inches actually posted. This is a very long pen when you post this thing. And so as a result, even though the cap is extremely light, I don't post it because it just feels like I'm trying to write with a baton or something. It's conducting a symphony would be way better. Inside the cap, there is no inner liner or anything that I can see. Just the hardware that, let's see, is there? No, I don't think so. I think it's just kind of like a hex bolt or something that holds the top on. I'm not really sure. It's hard to see down in there. It's a very long cap. But yeah, it looks nice, I think. And then here at the section, you have this shiny black plastic section. The body of this is, by the way, aluminum, so it is fairly light. It is actually almost exactly the same weight as a Lamy All-Star. This weighs just a little bit less, like 1 gram less maybe. That could be within the error range of my scale. I'm not really sure. So then you have this nib up here, which is a very interesting shape. You don't see this shape very often. It's sort of a spear shape. It's, I would say it's a little bit similar to the Lamy because it has that sort of arrowy spear shape, but you can see that they are really not all that similar. The Lamy kind of goes around the edges. This is a more traditional clip nib situation. And it doesn't slide onto a deal here. So this is, I think, a very nice looking nib, and it's one of the things that really drew me to this pen actually, was this nib, because I think it looks real cool. And then you have this sort of shiny feed under there as well. Opening up the pen, it does this interesting thing where the screw threads are actually well recessed up in here. When you screw it down, you can see it really makes the section shorter. Otherwise, it would be much longer. But that's an interesting setup that I haven't seen before, I don't think. And I'm sure it has to do with the way that this cap goes on. Actually, let me see if I can... Yeah, okay, so this is why that cap has that inner liner. That actually, this clicks onto the section. I've never taken that apart before to see. So there you go. Inside here, nothing going on, just aluminum tube. You're not going to want to eyedropper this, of course. And then you have a standard international converter, or it can take short or long cartridges, whichever you like. So there you go. Currently, I have this inked up with this very nice Sailor ink. This is Sailor Manyo Shirakashi, and it's going really well in this nib, I think. My nib is a little bit on the dry side, I believe, and I've talked to other people, and they say, no, ours is pretty wet. So that's interesting. Maybe mine just isn't tuned the same way as everybody else's. Other people have been reporting that they have those effects when they're using Sailor inks as well, and I have no reason to think that this ink is any different from the rest of the Sailor inks, so I think it's just a matter of my nib is a little bit on the dry side. Definitely not a problem. I think it writes perfectly well. We'll do a little writing sample here in a sec. So materials, aluminum bottle, aluminum body, plastic section, stainless steel clip. It's interesting that they went to so many different materials here, but it does give you a nice feeling pen. Nibs, stainless steel in extra fine up through broad. So lots and lots of nib choices here, all the standard ones. Cost, misrip on this thing that is manufacturer's suggested retail price is $65, and the street price is $52 for this thing. So it lives in a price range that is that it doesn't have very many pens in it, honestly. There really aren't that many $50 fountain pens. So that's a pretty good street price, I think. Filling system, either cartridge or converter, as we saw. Lengths, perfectly cromulent lengths. I'll show you a bunch of them next to each other, a bunch of pens next to each other that are, hopefully representative and help you get an idea. Pocket depth of 5.18 inches, but this is a very long clip, so you actually could do anything, any pocket depth you wanted. It would just kind of stick out the top a little bit. Section diameter on this is one of my very few complaints with this pen, and that is the 7.3 to 8.3 section diameter. It is a pretty skinny section. And you're right there on the nib. It's not ideal for me. I prefer my sections to be around 10 or 11 millimeters, and so the 7 to 8 is pretty skinny. However, once you get out here to the top, to the back, sometimes I remember to hold it back here, and that really does make it quite a lot wider, but I don't always remember because I usually hold my pens fairly close to the bottom of the section. Weight, 0.7 ounces or 20 grams, which puts it right around, as I said, the same size as the, or same weight rather, as the All-Star. So let's look at a whole bunch of these next to each other, and then we'll do a writing sample. Here you go. Oh, heck, I'll throw this on there too, because why not? All right. So the starting down here at the bottom, you have the 849 ballpoint. Then here you have a Retro 51. This is the alloy system. I really love this pen. Then the Franklin-Christoph 46. Then the Diplomat Aero, the Lamy All-Star, the TWSBI Eco, our 849 fountain pen, the TWSBI, what is this one called? The ALR, and then the Pilot 74, the Custom 74. These are all pretty normal size pens, and you can see that this 849 fits right in there lengthwise with all of these. A bit longer than these guys, and noticeably longer than these, but let's take off some caps and see how they measure up then. So there, you can see it actually, when you take the cap off of it, it is a fairly short pen. It comes in a bit shorter even than the other 849 once you take the cap off, which is pretty interesting. I haven't had any problems holding this for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why. I don't know. Maybe it's because, you know why it is. I think it's because I hold this further back than I do the ballpoint. And the ballpoint is good for short stints, but for me it's a little bit short. I don't know. Maybe it's because the nib is longer than the tipping here. I think that's got to be it. But yeah, no problems writing with it. I mean, it's the same length more or less as a Franklin-Christoph 46, and that's a perfectly cromulent length. Okay, let's put these away and then do a writing sample. Okay, so let's do a little writing sample here. This is the Caran 849. Fountain pen. Medium nib. With Sailor. Manyo. All right, and you can see it didn't really have any problems except for that one hard start right up here at the very beginning. But I mean, I've been waving this around. It's been sitting there uncapped for a little while, so that's not a shock. Even though this doesn't have an inner cap seal, which I like to see on a pen, especially with a slip cap, it is actually a very tight cap, I think, because I don't get this pen drying out. It can sit in a drawer unused for quite a while without having a problem, and that is a really nice feature, so well done on Caran for that. As far as how it keeps up with some scribbling, actually scribbles just fine. When I say it's a little bit on the dry side, I don't mean that it stops writing or that it is reticent or anything, just that it's not really putting down a huge amount of ink. It's putting down perfectly a good amount of ink. I would like to see maybe a little bit more flow, just so you get some even more character out of inks like this Shirakashi, but it's really not a problem at all. It's just a matter of preference for, I think, everybody. There isn't really any line variation on this nib, of course. It is a round nib. And how's the tipping on here? There's a fair amount of tipping. I think you could probably do some kind of alteration or grind if that's a thing you're into on these pens, but I mean, I think that the standard nib is perfectly good. So there you go. All right, is it bendy? No, it's not bendy. It's pretty nail-like, although I don't know, there's a little bit of a bounce if you push on it, but like, don't push on these. It's not a pushable pen. That's not really what this thing is for. Okay, so thanks very much for watching this. I will put this stats sheet back up at the end of the video so you can take a deeper look at that if you want to look at more stats. But this is, I think, a very nice little pen for the $50 price range. I can only think of 2 or 3 other pens that go in this range, so this doesn't have a whole lot of competition, honestly, and it is a nice step up, I think, from the smaller, from the lower priced pens. Although, I mean, if I'm going to be 100% honest, like, I mean, these TWSBIs really give it a run for this money, and even the All-Star, I think, kind of does as well, even at a little bit lower price point. Although this is actually very close a lot of times to that $50 price point. This is usually, what, in the 30s or so on the street? It's been a little while since I bought one. But, you know, it's got some competition, I suppose, at the lower price ranges, but still a pretty interesting pen and much slimmer. So if you have smaller hands or like a smaller pen, this is a great one for you. For me, it's just a little bit on the slim side, and I always wish it was a little bit thicker. So give me one of those, give me a 6-sided pen in a thicker material, and I would be a happier guy. But very nice pen, and I don't regret that one at all. I think I got this one on sale, and I believe it was like 40 something. But you know, so keep an eye out. Every once in a while, you might see a sale. I'll see y'all later. Peace out.